Again, my name is David Suter, and my company is CBSI. I'm the president of the company. It's a company that my father, Lou, started back in 1986, and he is actually sitting right here. So we do construction management, project management, relocation planning, and we work for clients, do a lot of college work. We do work for SDG&E. I've done work for General Atomics and the such. And so in my leadership journey, starting as vice president several years ago, and trying to figure out what it meant to be a leader, what it meant to be, I guess, more than just a manager, and really getting to understand what motivates people, what motivates people to want to do the work that they do, what motivates people to love what they do. And so these last, I'd say 3 or 4 years, I've really spent a lot of time researching leadership styles and trying to understand what those are. And I'll bring the PowerPoint up. What those different styles are. So we're going to go through all that, and we're going to talk about leadership, the different styles that are there, what has really motivated me, and the type of leadership that I have learned that fits me and works really well. And then we're going to talk about values. We're going to talk about personal values, we're going to talk about company values, and how, if you don't have those core values set up, how do you set those up, and how do you set those up for your team? So one of the things that I realized, not having done a lot of presentations like this, was that I'm not a whiz at PowerPoint. So instead of having some great interactive PowerPoints, I just thought I would put a beautiful Hawaii beach there instead to draw you in. Question is, can anybody, well, this is Mala'o Beach on Kauai. Does anybody know what TV show original pilot was filmed there? No. Go back farther. Gilligan's Island. Absolutely. It was the first pilot that was filmed there, and it actually failed. I think they redid it in Hollywood, and that's when it went through. But kind of funny. We learned that while we were there. And this is the beach that my wife and I were sitting on a couple weeks ago. And I only bring that up because Stephen had asked if we were just in Hawaii. So we were. So identifying your core values and becoming the leader that others choose to follow. And that's really the big difference here. There are managers and there are leaders. There's a big difference. You need to have both. You need to be able to lead and you need to be able to manage. But a leader without any management skills means you have a lot of big ideas with no direction. A manager with no leadership skills, it means that if you look behind you, are your people actually following you? Or are you just there because you have the title? And I do want to start this off with something a little bit fun, and that's why everyone has a rubber band on their table. So what I would like to do is for you guys to break up in the 4 or 5 people and sit for about 5 minutes and discuss the different ways to use a rubber band. What is a rubber band useful for? And you'll see where I'm going with this because this will play through the entire presentation. But go ahead, just break up. I'll give you 5 minutes. Just come up with ideas, and I'll ask for the 2 best ideas. All right. So first of all, I do want to say thank you for DPR Construction of allowing us to use this beautiful space. This is a very nice space. So I want to thank them, and I want to thank Steve from Corvan for supplying the pens, and Jessica for supplying the notepads. You will need both of those today. All right, so let's go around the room, and I want to hear some uses for rubber bands.
Sherry said weapon, actually.
Weapon, okay.
That was our first one, too.
Oh, okay. Back to the next one.
Okay, over here. Headband. All right. Actually, I wanted 2 from each group, so what else you got?
Next one, okay. Gripper. Sometimes we put it underneath something to help stop it because it won't move so easily.
A gripper. All right. Is that a patented word? A gripper? All right.
David, we went conventional. We said to keep things together.
All right. Got a shaky board. All right, what else we got? And I'm going to use that one, Randy. Mark that one. What else?
Removing silt from corn.
Doing what with what?
Removing silt from corn.
Yeah, you twist a rubber band and you hold it with your forefinger and thumb and you run it to the side of the corn and it pulls all the silt off the corn.
Who else did not know that and actually learned something today? There we go. What else? A toy. All right.
I put around it. Someone from our group said you can put it in a stripped head of a Phillips screw and actually use it to.
All right. And I actually tried that and it failed miserably.
Oh, did it?
My son's like, you got to try this, and I tried it, and it.
There was success in our.
A couple more.
How about holding up your knee-high socks?
Well, and if anybody needs them for their socks, I got a few more. Just feel free. Anything else? One more? Hair tie. All right. Good enough. So with all these things, a weapon, a gripper, hold things together, a reminder, remove silk from corn, toy, remove screws, holding up socks, hair tie. What do all of those things have in common with a rubber band? All right. Flexible.
You're using it as a tool?
Useful. Useful. But what is it actually doing to be functional? What is it actually doing to be a tool? Who said that? Randy? Man, you came up with reminder and stretching? Okay, all right. Because I might just pull you guys up here to help me do this whole thing.
All my stuff was stretching.
Stretching. Yes. So, what is the comparison between a rubber band and leadership? You must be stretched in order to be useful. If we continue to do the things that we've always done without changing, what's the point? We have to be stretched. I did also come up with a few of my own uses for a rubber band that I liked. So, you know, facilities-wise, I've never done that before, but it's a great idea. Put a rubber band around a can and use that for your paintbrush. Ingenious. Or, there we go, use it for a screw that's stripped. Or, if you got a broken door, just put a rubber band on it. You don't have to worry about it anymore. Or for your high rollers, your stack of credit cards and your $1 bill, you can put a rubber band around that. My personal favorite in California, I mean, no, you won't get a ticket that way. Someone might crash into you being distracted, but you won't get a ticket. Or you can hold your GPS in place in your car. Again, in order for it to be useful, it has to be stretched. So let me ask everyone this. Who is comfortable doing things for the first time, like getting up and giving a presentation? Who is comfortable being asked to do something that you don't really want to do, but you know you should? Anybody jump forward and just do it every time?
Except for the speaking part.
Well, there you go. There you go. So, and that's the whole point here, is that we need to stretch ourselves in order to grow. So we'll get into that. And the other thing with the rubber band, when we're done with this in an hour or so, if these things were useful, put that rubber band on your wrist, and it's a reminder of the things you learned today. If this was a waste of an hour and a half that you'll never get back, you can shoot it at me. So the reason I came up with this was actually from a book called The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth by John Maxwell. Great leadership author and speaker. And so there are actually the laws of a rubber band, and we're going to go through that, and we'll talk about a couple of them. We'll drill down on a couple of them. Number one, few people want to stretch. It's very true. There are people that are just not comfortable making that stretch and doing things that they're not comfortable doing. Settling for the status quo ultimately leads to dissatisfaction. So I used to say this when people would ask me, hey, is it worth going after your CFM, your Certified Facility Manager? What does that look like? How much effort do you have to put into that? And what I would say is, hey, today is September 26, 2017. A year from now, on to September 26, 2018, are you going to be the same person, or will you have spent that 12 months growing, learning, and getting that CFM? The time is going to pass regardless of what you do with it, so it's really up to you to make that effort and change those things inside of you that need to be changed, whether it is going for your CFM or whatever aspect you have in leadership or certifications. Stretching always starts from the inside out. And for me, I say it's a heart thing. Your heart has to be into it before you can actually make that move. So, spending the time and really figuring out, is it fears or what is it that's slowing you down from growing, and figuring those things out inside of you and then taking the step. Stretching always requires change. It's true. You're going to have to change things about yourself, the way you do things, in order to grow and become a better leader. Stretching sets you apart from others. If you are the first one that's going to go in there and say, yes, I'll do that, the boss asked for a group of people for volunteers, and I'll give you a great example. At the beginning of this month, each year I have two boys that play flag football. I have 3 sons, and the 2 youngest ones play flag football every fall. And so we didn't get drafted on a team this year. There weren't enough coaches, and there's 8 teams. So we finally got a coach. The last day I was getting ready to just pull him, say, forget it, let's go back to baseball. But a coach showed up, and I said, great. It was like a Sunday. We got contacted and said, okay, first practice is on Tuesday. Great, showed up for practice. And about halfway through the practice, this was a first-time coach, and I said, hey, I don't know much about football, but I'm good with kids. 2 of the kids on this team are mine. I'm more than happy to help be assistant coach or help in practices. Okay, great. Next day, we were having our second practice. About 10 minutes before practice started, I get an email saying, hey, I'm heading to Houston. My family's in Houston. This was during the storm. And can you cover practice for the next week and a half? And I'm like, oh. Okay, again, this was 10 minutes before practice, so the kids show up, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to figure this out. We're going to run a practice, and it went fine. But I've never even played football, let alone knowing about coaching flag football. I've watched the kids play the last couple years, and that's it. But I said, all right, I'll do it. And so I am now head coach. I am stretched. Spending, and Steve saw it earlier, there's a whole website on how to make plays and everything to get the little wrist printouts for the plays. So I'm learning. I got an assistant coach, and of course, again, that second week when I was there, we were in Hawaii. So fortunately, one of the other dads stepped up and ran the practices before the first game because that was a little stressful. But anyways, stretching sets you apart from others, and me being there, knowing, seeing that it's not organized and saying, okay, you know what, I know nothing about this, but I'll be willing to help. You never know where it's going to lead you, whether that be good or bad. And I'll let you know we're 0-2 at this point. Stretching gives you a shot at significance. How are you going to get to where you want to be unless you actually strive for it, unless you go for it? And then stretching can become a lifestyle. Once you get comfortable and know that, hey, I know this is going to stretch me. I know that this is going to be uncomfortable. But once you get to a point where you're okay with that discomfort and know that you're going to learn from it, it's a great place to be. Am I there always? Definitely not. Definitely not. But I've been shown time and time again that this is something that I need to do. And, you know, one of the things that I've noticed over my career is, like I said, we do a lot of work with college districts and their facilities departments. And we actually just met with a new one this week on some projects coming up. And in that situation where you're working with unions and you've had the good old boys that have been there for 40 years and they do what they do and it's always the way they've done it and they're not going to be told anything different. It's just real interesting. In talking to guys and gals that have been in the business a long time and say, you know, working with them and realizing, hey, you got some good leadership potential. Why don't you go after that supervisory role? Why don't you, you know, work on leading your team? And them saying, oh no, I don't want the additional responsibility. I just want to get my 8 hours in and go home. And it's like, oh my gosh, you are selling yourself so short. And I've seen that time and time again, and it's really too bad that people have that much fear that they're not willing to take a risk. And all I can say when it comes to that, if that's you, in any aspect, maybe not to that aspect, just give it a try. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? Can you fail? Absolutely. Have I failed a lot? No question about it. But got to keep going. And the actual law of the rubber band is the greatest stretching sessions in life come when we do what we have never done, push ourselves harder and reach in ways that is uncomfortable to us. That takes courage. But the good news is that it causes us to grow in ways we thought were impossible. Great book for anybody. And we will post this on the website. I know you guys are taking a lot of notes, and that's good because notes are always better for remembering, but we will post this on the website. So we're going to go into leadership styles. And if you were to do a Google search on leadership styles, you'll get 12 to 15 different types. And so what I've done is I've abbreviated the list, and I went from one end of the spectrum to the other. Just 4 examples from the far right to the far left. So the first one is your power, autocratic leadership, where you are there to serve the big boss. And it's the typical pyramid style of leadership. And I have a great example of this. Prior to CBSI, I worked for a company called CCN, which was managed healthcare here in Kearney Mesa, one of the old Kaiser buildings at this point. And we had about 800 people locally. I was a facility manager, and we had 60 field offices around. So we were a pretty good company. And there was another much bigger company called Columbia HCA out of, I believe it was Nashville, that bought us out. And when they bought us out, they sent in a group of cowboys to come lead the San Diego business. And I won't give the guy's name, but wow. Talk about management by intimidation. Just coming in and you serve me, and just without much notice, just slashing jobs. People were getting cut left and right. They were, you know, selling off the field offices left and right. So what was a very friendly place came really bad, and it was all because of this power leadership where you serve me. It's the Lee Iacocca, where he's, you know, built Chrysler up to be one of the best companies in the world, but lost his focus and ended up crashing that company like no tomorrow, because that leadership style is not sustainable. There'll be a lot of companies that will do it, but that is not sustainable, not if you want to keep good people. And there, somewhere in between, you have management, which is bred by the leader model. You have the title, but you don't have the respect of your people. And this is any level of management, top to bottom, where I would say that you were maybe brought in and just promoted through the ranks. Promoted through the ranks because you've been there, you've accomplished some things. You're a manager, but do you have actual leadership style? Do people want to follow you? Do you treat people well? One of the things that, anybody a fan of Ken Blanchard? All right. he's a funny dude. I've seen him like 3 or 4 times, and he is funny. He's at a point in his life where he really does not care what people think, and he'll say it, and it's hilarious. So I'm just going to repeat one of the things, what he calls this type of management. He calls it seagull management. Has anybody heard of seagull management? He says, they are never around until you do something wrong. They come in, make a lot of noise, crap all over the place, and take off. Right? So true. So true. And then starting to get the other side of the curve, we have transformational leadership. The company initiates the change and really empowers the people. And Mike Patrick came in January for us and did a whole leadership luncheon for us on transformational leadership and Milliken, which is the company he works for, and what they went through over the years and how they changed their way of doing business and how successful that was. And then what I'm focusing on today is what we call servant leadership. And really what that is flipping the pyramid upside down. You leave your ego at the door as the boss, as a leader, and you serve your people. A lot of people might not like the word servant leadership. Oh, servant, what does that mean? But really, the intent of this is, in your heart, you need to serve first. You need to put your people first. So we're going to dig a little bit deeper into servant leadership, and I can explain a little bit more about that. If anybody's read the book Good to Great, Jim Collins would call that type of leadership level 5 leadership. It's a little bit different, but for the most part, which is a fantastic book too, but level 5 leadership. So servant leadership. It is a set of behaviors and practices that turn the traditional power leadership model upside down. Instead of the people working to serve the leader exists to serve the people. When leaders shift their mindset and serve first, they unlock purpose and ingenuity in those around them, resulting in higher performance and engaged, fulfilled employees. The purpose is to inspire and equip those we influence. And let me read that again. The leader exists to serve the people. When leaders shift their mindset and serve first, they unlock purpose and ingenuity in those around them, resulting in higher performance and engaged, fulfilled employees. Wouldn't you love to have engaged, fulfilled employees? Wouldn't you want to be an engaged and fulfilled employee? And the source of this is the Servant Leadership Institute here in San Diego, actually based out of Carlsbad, and Art Barter, who is the CEO. So what I want to talk about is leading where you are. And these are just different aspects of leadership in a way, because really, to be a leader, you don't have to have the title. You don't need to be the boss. You can be anywhere in that chain and still be a leader, still show those leadership qualities. And the biggest thing is you can influence those around you. My wife, well, I would have to say, my wife, up until yesterday, worked for a community college district that was very tough leadership. And she knew she couldn't change from above her, but she knew she could change the team below her. And she has such a tight-knit team that is now ready, because she gave her notice yesterday, and she's going to be joining CBSI as a vice president coming November 1st, which I'm very excited about. We're very excited about. But that was part of it. She had leadership above her that was not worth working for. After 15 years, she decided this, it was time for something new. But what she did to the team below her, that she can walk out of the door now and they can take right over and do what she was doing, is fantastic. And that's really what you got to do, is influence those around you. And importantly, stand your ground when your integrity and morals are being tested. And this could happen in a lot of different ways. Again, meeting with this client this week, one of the problems they dealt with was things coming in the front door and going out the back door, and that was just normal how they did things. And if you're in a business and you see that type of thing where people are taking the office supplies, or people are cutting each other down, just doing what they can to try to get ahead, are you going to just let it go, or are you going to stand for your morals and your integrity? Because I guarantee, if you say that you're not that type of person, people are watching you. You need to lead by example. You need to set the example of, hey, you're not going to change my integrity or my morals, and watch how I'm going to do this. And not everybody's going to like it, but people will follow it. People will follow if you say, if you are who you say you are. Self-reflection. I think this is huge, and I definitely have to do this myself a lot. Again, this has been a leadership journey for me the last 4 years, and thinking I might know the best way to do something and realizing that I don't, and really spending the time to self-reflect on yourself. What am I doing wrong? How can I be a better person? And not always blame it on it's the effects from what someone else did to you. You can change that by just spending a lot of time in self-reflection. And remembering your people are the most valuable resource, and spending time developing them. One of the things that, and we'll talk about that a little bit more with the servant leadership, and one of the quotes from Art Barter is putting the right people in the right place, doing the right thing. You might have a team of people, and the person that is in charge of the budgets might not even like numbers. And do you know that? Maybe they are better at another aspect of the work, and you have someone else that for some reason loves numbers. You know, are you talking to your people and really finding out what their desires are? And maybe a quick change, and you get the person who loves numbers to be doing your budgets, and the person that doesn't to be doing something else that they're really good at. Spend time developing your people. And remember, when you hold people back, you diminish their true potential. You know, again, I would have to say time and time again, I've seen people being held back from where they could truly go. And, you know, a lot of times it's insecurity of a boss that doesn't want the person below them to shine. They want to take all the credit, but don't hold people back. You know, if you see true potential in somebody, let them run with it. I mean, I would say I am where I am today and been able to accomplish what I've been able to accomplish because I have great people that I work with. And they're a lot better at me than a lot of things that I do. And so instead of me trying to do it all, you know, give them those functions. And it's just amazing to see how things grow when you let people go to their true potential. Again, putting people in the right place, doing the right thing. So important. And think about this. If there's someone that can do something 60% as good as you can, but they have momentum, they're motivated, let them own it, and most likely they'll end up doing 120% better than you ever could. Now I'll just go over a couple quotes that I liked. How you get the results is more important than the results themselves. Again, it's about the people. Just never forget, it's about the people, it's about the people, it's about the people. And then another great leader who is just, this guy is incredible, Craig Rochelle. If you've never heard of him, look up his leadership podcast. Just the guy is just incredible leadership. And think about this, developing people doesn't happen accidentally. It has to be intentional. You have to put your effort into developing your people. And again, you don't have to be the manager. You don't have to have a team. When it says, when I say your people, it could be just the team around you. You could be the lowest person on the totem pole and have 10 people above you before your manager. You can still influence them. And John Maxwell, as a leader, you have the ability to lift up or tear down. And that's a quote from another one of his books, Attitude 101. And you do. Are you going to spend your time lifting your people up, or are you going to spend the time telling them how they could have done things better? You know, there's a way to tell people how they could have done things better in a positive light, giving them confidence. So I'm going to go over the 9 behaviors of servant leadership, and this is coming from the Servant Leadership Institute. And these are all really good. Again, you know, don't get stuck on the word servant. I would say just think about serving. Just you as a person thinking about serving others. So the first one is serve first. In each encounter, ask the question, how can I serve you? Clients, boss, husbands, to your wife when you get home, how can I serve you? I guarantee that changes your life. Happy wife, happy life. Build trust. Are you trustworthy? And are you willing to extend trust to others? We're going to drill down into that one a little bit. Live your values. What are your values? In order to live your values, you must define them first. We're going to drill down into that one too. Listen to understand. Do you talk more than you listen? Can you set aside distractions and be present for your people? When you're in a meeting, are you staring at your phone the whole time? Oh, I got an email. Oh, Facebook. Let me check that one out. Be intentional when you are in a meeting, when you are in your office and someone comes up to you, when your kids come up to you, put the phone down. Be intentional. Listen. Can you set aside all distractions? And again, interactive. You guys have questions, comments, please, at any time. Think about your thinking. What is your attitude as a leader? Are your thoughts about yourself or of others holding you back? Now think about that. That's that self-reflection. Number 6, add value to others. Are you a leader that consistently adds value, or do you always have to take the credit? Don't take the credit. Give it to your people. Demonstrate courage. Are you willing to make tough decisions and follow through on them, and do you keep your commitments? I'm going to close this. It's starting to get warm. Apparently got to hold it down. Increase your influence. Will you do what is right even when it may produce an unpopular outcome? Do you have enough confidence in yourself that if you are asked to do something by your boss that morally, whether it be budget numbers or something of that, that is not okay with you, are you willing to stand up and say, I'm not going to do that? Is your job more important than your morals? And do you strive to be open and authentic with no hidden agendas? I tell you, I've seen enough people with hidden agendas, and it's just, it blows my mind. It just holds you back, and it holds everyone back around you. And live your transformation. If you have something, do you share it? If you need something, do you ask for it? And it's very interesting. Recently, a lot of our college work, there's always a little rift between staff and faculty. And usually we have to go through our contacts throughout the time if we're going to reach out to faculty to talk to them about an upcoming project, or a lot of times with the college districts, it's we're planning a big move for them, and we always have to go through a step and not just talk to the people. And we just started a project at SDSU a couple months ago, and they basically said, here's the directory, here's all the people, just go. And I'm like, you sure about that? And they're like, yeah, you can reach out to anybody you need to reach out to, and talk to whoever you need to talk to get the work done. I was like, that's fantastic. So we're going to drill a little deeper into building trust and what that means. So the question is, are you trustworthy, and are you willing to trust others? And a couple other quotes. What is the best way to work on trust? Go and trust somebody. And trust is given, distrust is earned. So going into a situation, whatever it may be, personal or work-wise, do you typically go in trusting somebody, or do you go in distrusting somebody? What I have to say is go in trusting somebody and keep trusting them until they give you a reason to distrust. So, and these are questions I do want the feedback. What are some reasons for trusting someone?
Reliable. Time and time again, they live up to their promise.
Okay.
Inspired confidence.
Inspires confidence, yeah. I was told I can write on the walls. What else? Empowers. What was the first one?
Reliable.
I'd say I'm not great, and I'll work on this because I'm not great on writing all these things. What else? Integrity. Well, you guys can't even see that. All right. What are some reasons for distrusting? Inconsistency?
Apparently acting too much like a seagull.
Actions.
Or lack of action.
Or lack of. Anything else? All right. And why do we shy away from trust? Ego.
Lessons learned.
We'll do that one bigger. Ego. Absolutely. Been burned. Experience. What else? Risky.
I agree. I think a lot of times in our profession, it's kind of easier to go with the known, even if it's a little tainted in some way, than to go completely unknown.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm working with an interesting one. It's, sometimes it's also lack of clarity in your job role.
Hmm?
So, you know, what you think that may not be clearly defined. So, no, that's my job to do my job. Or, no, that's my client. Or, no, that's my project.
Yeah, lack of clarity. Absolutely. As leaders, we are responsible for being clear communicators, for sure. So, Stephen M.R. Covey, who is the son of Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, this guy is just as good as his dad. And his book is called The Speed of Trust. So this is his trust tax and trust dividend. And he says that trust goes down, when trust goes down, speed goes down, and costs go up. And that's the trust tax. But when trust goes up, speed goes up, and costs go down. And that's your trust dividend. How true is that? So true. So true. So I would just say to follow up on the trust that figure out if you have trust issues or if the people around you have trust issues, and try to break through that. Try to have that conversation of why is that? What has led up to that? Is it the leadership of the organization? Is it something you personally, again, self-reflection, and get that trust dividend up. Extend that trust and wait till they have a reason to distrust. And if there is a distrust, figure out ways to build that trust back. It will make you and everyone around you much happier. Live your values. What are your values? In order to live your values, you must first define them. If you don't know what they are, go find out. Art Barter. We're going to do that. In order to define your values, you need to think about the meaning of your life. What are you passionate about? What qualities are important to you? What breaks your heart? What makes you laugh? All very important. When you can clearly define your personal values and know the values of your organization, it will be easier to live them. So, just in case, and I love the fact that right here on the wall, DPR has their core values: integrity, enjoyment, uniqueness, and ever forward. I'm glad that they must have put that up this morning, right for this. So, knowing who my audience is, I spent a little bit of time, didn't take a lot because it was on the websites. Well, actually, I'll do this first. So, I was out of order on myself. So I'll tell you mine first. These are my personal values: faithful husband, good father, trusted friend, generous giver, and servant leader. I wrote those down about 3 years ago and just constantly repeating them. And do I live up to every single one of them every day? Not a chance, not even close. But those are the values that I strive towards. And then CBSI, our values. Family first. We believe that taking care of our families is top priority. Your kid is sick, you go take care of your kid. Relationships. We are dedicated to building and maintaining lasting partnerships with our clients, with our peers, coworkers. Excellence. We strive to fulfill our obligations to exceed customer expectations. Integrity. We uphold strong moral principles and honorable character. And in our team meetings, we do those on a weekly basis. Every month, every couple months, I'll bring those back in just to remind everybody, because no one is ever going to be able to memorize their company values. But if you keep reminding what you stand for in different ways, whether you're going over the core values yourselves or you're living them out, your team will understand what they are. IFMA San Diego, it's a little bit different. It's called a unique value proposition, but we do have it on our website. And the San Diego chapter provides a friendly, diverse environment supporting performance of our members through local networking, education, right here, and promotion of facilities management. And because I did do some research, Semper Energy, Robert Watkins signed up for this, so I put it on here. Theirs is ethical, do the right thing, respectful, people matter, high-performing, delivering outstanding results, forward-looking, shaping the future, and a responsible partner, creating positive relationships. And then Mission Federal, because I knew Lisa would be here. Trust, integrity, communication, service and commitment, and teamwork. Love it. Coravan. Did you know what these were, Steve? Yeah. Exactly. That's my point.
On the top of the pen, let me see.
Is it not on pen? And that's the point is, as business owners or companies, we should make sure that our staff knows what these are, knows what the values of the organization are. Customer happiness, improvement, teamwork, outshine the competition. I like that one. Not outwork the competition, not outdo the competition, outshine the competition. Safety and security. And PRAVA. Integrity, professionalism, dedication, fairness, respect. All great values for companies.
Forgot good old-fashioned hard work.
Was that on there? And good old-fashioned hard work. Must have ran off the page. So, another interactive part, what I want you guys to do is actually work on values. Well, let me ask you this. Does anybody have a list of personal values or a list of values for your team or your company that you know of offhand, that you can repeat offhand? Good. Perfect. So think about, what are you passionate about? What makes you laugh? What breaks your heart? So what I want to do is, again, break into the same teams and think about that. Think about defining what your personal values are. And it's, bouncing ideas off of each other, thoughts off of each other. But I also want to take it to another level. Create a list of values for your team. You got your personal ones, and you got the ones for the team that you work with. Maybe your team already has one, maybe your business already has one. but maybe they don't. And regardless, this is a great exercise. So once you create them for your team, bring them back to your office, sit down with your team and discuss them. What a great way to meet with your team and say, hey, let's create a culture, a set of values, core values for whoever your team is. So I want to do that. I want you guys to break up for about 10 minutes into a small group and talk about what your personal values are and talk about the values that you can bring back to your team. And I'm very interested to hear what you guys come up with. So go for it. All right, so I want to hear what you guys have to say. And I won't pick on anybody in particular, but I'm not going to write them down, but would just love to hear the things you guys came up with, whether it be personal values, team values, whatever you guys came up with. So feel free. Who's first? Go ahead, Steve.
Well, what I was telling the group is I'm actually going through a similar exercise at home, even just trying to go through and making my decisions, difficult choices based on my own values, and it helps define you and it helps you make those decisions a lot easier. And so like for me, obviously it'd be a responsibility, it would be consistency, like being the same person no matter what's happening in your life. That's a big deal to me. So those are the two big ones. And obviously like in everyone else's company, it's integrity. It's a huge, huge thing. So.
Yeah, good. I like it.
Allow grace.
Allow grace, absolutely. Absolutely. You're the first one to allow it, because how many times have people allowed it for you? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We have two in my team. One is called no band-aids. What that means is we do it right the first time. It's better for the company because we're not spending extra money making up for our mistake later, and it serves the customer. The second one is it's not the mistake, it's how you recover. And if they make a mistake, when we have our meeting, they tell us, and then we say, okay, how do we recover from this? And that way they take ownership for it, they help come up with a solution, and it's no big deal. Okay, you've made a mistake, lesson learned, how do we recover? We recover this way. Okay, let's go.
Good, I like it. Who else? All that time and come on.
Our theme for personal values is trust and honesty.
Trust and honesty, good.
And also the third is communications. Oh, I'm sorry. That was for the team. I was reading the team. The team is trust and honesty and communications. And then for personal, we put family first.
Good. Good.
One of the things that we talked about was how important it is for self-care, because you can't take care of other people if you don't take care of yourself.
For sure.
And although sometimes that can feel selfish, if you don't do it, then you will let everybody else down.
And you will burn out.
Yeah, and that sometimes means saying no.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Great.
Well, we had kind of a complex idea. Let's say it started with reaching, aspiring to the next level, but that led into a more nuanced conversation about meeting people on their own level, and realizing what people are ready for versus what they want and what they're doing in the moment.
It's great. Absolutely.
There's one that we talk is equality amongst the house as well as work.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Encourage.
Courage. Encourage. Both of them. Yeah. Encourage. Absolutely. Absolutely. Anything else?
We got alignment.
It's very important to think about what you're thinking. In other words, when you get into we've got a series on that recently. When you get into a situation that's negative, then before you open your mouth, think about what you're thinking. And use that in a positive way so that you can say something that is positive. The other thing of that is the person who is in charge is the one who listens. So you want to find out when you're in a situation like that what the other person is thinking about. And the only way you can do that is by asking questions.
Yeah, and most of the time, don't say what you're initially thinking. Any situation.
And relating to that, so we had this great discussion about gender equity, and then we were talking about being role models. And I think one of the biggest setbacks I found personally, I don't know if you have as well professionally, is one of my biggest opportunities for positive change is getting out of my own way. That I assume everybody's intentions are X, or I assume because we're in a gender equity role and gender equity industry, my first assumption is that, you know, defending your integrity, defending your person, defending your career, you know, in the 25 years that you've worked hard to get there. But sometimes you have to stop, and I appreciate Mr. Suter saying, you know, thinking about your thinking and how to get in this funky space, how to pull yourself out of it, and really listen to the other person.
Great, great. All right. So, you know, my advice for that is write down what your personal values are and put it on your phone somewhere that you can constantly go back and remind yourself. And they might change, so they'll evolve over the years, but just keep that as a core of who you are. And those times that you fly off the handle, whether it's just in your mind or outside, to, you know, go back and look at those values and calm yourself down and figure out, and okay, I messed up that time, I'll do better the next time. And again, I think it's so important to work on a group of core values for your team, whether it be your entire business or the team that you work with. So, just going to, we're almost done. We'll finalize this with, now go stretch yourself. So, work on being the leader that your team needs you to be. Your team needs you to be that leader, whether you are at the top of the pecking order or at the bottom. It does not matter. Face the tough challenges ahead of you and grow through them. Don't just go through them, grow through them. Go trust somebody. You have trust issues? Go trust somebody. Give yourself a chance. Be proactive in encouraging those around you. Remember, serve first. Compare, this is a big one, compare your values with the values of your team and organization, and do they align? The values that you came up with for yourself, does the company that you work for have those same values? If they don't, something to think about. I mean, we are responsible for our own careers, our own life, and if you're working somewhere that just they don't align, it's just another part of that self-reflection to think about what you're doing and are you in the right place. Big decisions. Lead where you are. Again, doesn't matter what position of the management order you are in, top, bottom, sideways, it doesn't matter. Just lead where you are. And just to finalize with some quotes, Harry S. Truman, you can accomplish anything in life provided that you don't mind who gets the credit. Calvin Coolidge, no person was ever honored for what he received. Honor has been the reward for what he gave. Woodrow Wilson, the ear of the leader must ring with the voices of the people. And that's it. Mahalo. Thank you. So, as typical with one of the IFMA events, you will get a survey to talk about this event. But honestly, I would love to hear your personal feedback, whether it be right now or if you want to send me an email. I got my cards right here, but I need to improve on this too and doing this too. So I'd love to hear your feedback, insight, input. So I'll be around for a while if anybody wants to chat. But thank you very much. And like I said, go to the IFMA website for the upcoming events, and looking forward to see you there. Thank you. Have a great day. Yeah, well, I'll turn this. I'll put this on the website probably in the next couple days, along with the video. We're video recording too. Thank you.